guys all up and running?
We're up and ready.
Okay, they've got the live stream going and everything, so we should be good to begin, Alex.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you. Good morning, everyone. And thank you for taking the time to join us this morning. Looks like we have a quorum, so we'll be able to move ahead. Doug, we appreciate you and recognize this is your last board meeting, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you for your service on the board through the years, and also on my behalf, and I'm sure I can speak for everybody, thanks for the great work you've done through the years for Murray City. You've been a kind of a rock and a consistent presence there that's been a blessing to the city. So thank you for your service, and we wish you all the best in your whatever you're going to do next. Hopefully not just go play golf, but
Thank you, Alex. If I take a minute and just say thanks to everybody, it's been a pleasure to associate with all of you. Appreciate all the good work that Utopia and the staff does, Roger, for your leadership, and Alex, also grateful for your leadership as the chair. My goal was, Alex, to retire before you did, so looks like I'm going to make it. But but I want to introduce Kim Sorensen, who's sitting next to me here. Kim's going to be taking my place. He'll be appointed at the January City Council meeting, so we'll get you the documentation that you need. But Kim has been with Murray for 43 years, so he knows the city, he knows the culture, he knows what Utopia is, and he'll do a great job on the Utopia board in my place. So thank you all.
very good. Thank you, Doug. Again, all the best to you. And Kim, we welcome you. And,
Thank you.
Hope you'll, Doug has been Murray's always had good representation on the two boards, and you guys have been vocal and shared your views and mind, and we appreciate that. So we hope you'll continue to do that same thing and help Utopia be the best it can be. So I look forward to working with you.
Thanks.
Very good. Let's move forward with the agenda then. And the first item of business is the approval of a set of minutes from the June 9th, 2025 meeting.
Yeah, it's better than mine.
Is there, are there any additions or deletions?
That's the point.
Mr. Chair, this is Mayor Bott in Brigham City. I move that we approve the minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. Is there a second?
I'll second that. This is Doug.
Okay, Doug, thank you. I have a motion and second. Let's just do a voice vote. All in favor of approving the June 9th, 2025 minutes as presented, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, we'll consider them approved. Next item on the agenda is a discussion of the board meeting schedule for 2026. Roger, do you have anything to say on that? I think there was that was in the packet that went out. Or Krista, is there any need to speak to that?
Just the schedule, and we just schedule our meetings the second Monday of each month, and unless there's some reason not to, sometimes there's holidays and things, and so I think there's an exception. Was that for October that we do different?
October is the exception. It's the second Monday every other month. October is the exception due to Columbus Day, so we have scheduled it the Monday prior.
And sometimes there's a need to change or cancel or whatever, but this is kind of the default schedule, assuming no changes in the future, but we need to have one and have it published. So this is it, unless someone sees a reason to change it.
Any concerns from any board members about those dates? Okay.
DJ moves to approve the schedule for board meetings.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second, Matt Dahl.
Matt, thank you. Let's just do a voice vote again. Consent vote, all in favor of approving the 2026 meeting schedule as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Consider that approved as well. Thank you. Next item is a discussion of Utopia's fraud risk assessment that's required by the state each year, and Jason Roberts, our Chief Financial Officer, will guide us through that discussion.
Thanks, Alex. As
as Alex mentioned, it is required that we provide an update of our fraud risk assessment annually to the board. And this year, if you'll see on our fraud, we have total points earned 375 out of 395. That's 35 more points than we had in the prior year. And that's primarily because we've passed some additional policies through the board, which I'll speak about here in a minute. And I'd like to thank Nicole and Krista for their work on getting some of these policies passed during the past year. I really do appreciate that. But the things that have changed on our risk assessment is it asked, does the entity have governing body adopted written policies in the following areas? There were 3 policies that were not formally adopted by the board last year that we had adopted this year. And they were the ethical behavior, reporting fraud and abuse, and cash receipts and deposits. And those were all adopted in the current year, and we can check those boxes now. The other thing that it did change this year is it asks, are employees and elected officials required to annually commit in writing to abide by a statement of ethical behavior? We sent that out early in the year for all of the board to sign. We'll be sending it out next year once again for everybody to sign. We're able to check that box now. The only thing we aren't able to check off here is the asking if the entity has a formal internal audit function. This would require additional employees. Other organizations that I've seen at cities don't have this checked also. It's not uncommon. But yeah, we're at 375 out of 395, and to be at the very low risk level, you need to be higher than 355, and we're higher than that. Any questions on the fraud risk assessment? If not, I'll turn it back over to you, Alex.
We don't need to approve this by any kind of a motion, do we?
No, I think it just needs to be presented.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you for your work on that, all of staff, Cole, Krista, and Jason, thank you. Next item is an Opens and Public Meetings Act training by Nicole, our General Counsel.
Yes, thank you. And I know many of you have received this already this year. As you know, this is required by state law, and it's required for all of the entities that are applicable. You're probably also aware that both I know in your own jurisdictions and here at Utopia, we have really wonderful staff who are very careful about making sure our notices are done correctly and that all the rules are followed. So we're very checklist oriented and make sure we get that done on behalf of the board. So wanted to make that assurance. In order to comply, we do need to provide this training. And so we do that by a quick video that the state auditor has supplied. It's about 7 minutes long. So I'll share my screen and we'll watch that video and we'll be ready to go. We can ask any questions. I can answer any questions once we do that. Okay.
So what is the Open and Public Meetings Act? It's the state law that ensures government actions and deliberations are openly conducted. Before we continue, keep in mind that this video is an overview and exceptions may exist based on your entity type. We focus on local government, not state requirements. When in doubt, read the law and consult with your legal counsel. So what's considered an open and public meeting? It's when a public body quorum, also known as a simple majority, meets to discuss or act upon government business. It includes the meetings sometimes referred to as workshops or executive sessions. Regular meetings, public hearings, electronic meetings, and emergency meetings are all open and public meetings. Open and public meetings don't include chance or social meetings. A public hearing is a type of open and public meeting where citizens have a reasonable opportunity to speak. Public hearings happen when a government adopts a budget, imposes or increases taxes or fees, or transfers money from an enterprise fund. These meetings have extra notice and posting requirements and won't be addressed in this video. An electronic meeting is a type of open and public meeting that's convened electronically, such as via phone or the internet. Remember, the governing body must adopt a resolution, rule, or ordinance allowing and governing electronic meetings. OPMA adds additional requirements too. An emergency meeting may be held to discuss an urgent matter due to unforeseen circumstances. In order to hold the meeting, The best notice that's feasible is provided of the time, location, and topics to be considered. An attempt is made to contact all governing body members, and the governing body majority approves the meeting. An open and public meeting may be closed to discuss any of the following: a person's character, competence, or health, collective bargaining, litigation, certain real property transactions, including any form of a water right or water shares with specific restrictions, security personnel, devices, or systems deployment, investigations of criminal misconduct, and private or protected information for the Utah Procurement Code, including trade secrets. A closed meeting may be held only if a quorum is present and the meeting was properly noticed. 2/3 of the governing body present at the meeting need to vote yes to close a meeting. Quick math lesson. 2 divided by 3 equals 66.7%. Let's say your governing body has 5 members present at the meeting. If 3 out of 5 members vote yes, that equals 60%, which is not equal or greater than 66.7%, which means you're 1 member short and would need 4 out of 5 members to vote yes. During a closed meeting, a governing body can't interview someone applying to fill an elected position, discuss filling a midterm vacancy or temporary absence, discuss the character, competence, or health of a person whose name was submitted for consideration to fill a midterm vacancy or temporary absence, approve any ordinance, resolution, rule, regulation, contract, or appointment, or take a vote, unless it's a vote on a motion to end the closed portion of the meeting and return to an open meeting. When a governing body closes a meeting, the following must be publicly announced and entered into the minutes of the open meeting at which the closed meeting was approved: the reason or reasons for holding the closed meeting, the location where the closed meeting will be held, and the vote of each member of the governing body either for or against the motion to close the meeting. If a closed meeting is discussing a person's character, competence, or health, or security personnel, devices, or systems deployment, or several other exceptions, mostly related to state bodies or project entities, no recording or minutes are required. However, the presiding member needs to sign a sworn written statement stating such. If the closed meeting is held for any other reason, a recording must be made, which includes date, time, and place of the meeting, names of members present and absent, and names of all others, except where disclosure would infringe on the confidentiality necessary to fulfill the original purpose of closing the meeting. Regular open and public meetings require 24 hours notice. The public notice includes the meeting agenda, date, time, and place. Public meeting agendas need to include reasonably specified topics to be considered, with each topic listed under a separate agenda item on the meeting agenda. The governing body may not consider a topic in an open meeting that wasn't on the agenda. If a new topic not on the agenda is raised by the public during an open meeting, the governing body may discuss the topic. However, final action may not be taken on the new topic during that meeting. Additionally, entities holding regular meetings scheduled in advance over the course of the year need to provide annual notice of the entire year's meeting schedule. The notice must include date, time, and place for each meeting. Notice is posted on the public body's website in a public location such as the location where the meeting will be held, and on Utah's public notice website in accordance with Utah Code 63G-30-102. Typically, posting on the public notice website is done by the records officer, recorder, or clerk. However, it's the governing body's responsibility to ensure notice is provided. State Archives has prepared a training manual and quick guide for owners and posters, as well as training videos that can be accessed at their website, archives.utah.gov. Written minutes and a recording are kept of all open meetings, with few exceptions. Written minutes include the date, time, and place of the meeting, the names of members present and absent, the substance of all matters, names of citizens providing comments, the substance of the comments provided, any information a body member requests be entered into the minutes or recording, and a record by individual member of each vote taken. A body with elected members must record each vote in list format by category for each action taken by a member, including yes votes, no votes, and absent members next to each member's name. A recording must be a complete and unedited record of all open portions of the meeting from beginning to end, and be labeled with the meeting date, time, and place. All or any part of an open meeting may be independently recorded by any person in attendance if the recording does not interfere with the conduct of the meeting. Pending minutes means written minutes of an open meeting in draft form subject to change before being approved by the public body that held the open meeting. Pending minutes must contain a clear indication, such as a draft or pending watermark, that the governing body hasn't yet approved the minutes and that the minutes are subject to change until the public body approves them. Approved minutes means written minutes of an open meeting approved by the public body that held the open meeting. Entities must establish and implement procedures for the public body's approval of written minutes. Public meeting pending minutes, approved minutes, and recordings are public records under grandma. Any individual who publicly presents information relating to an item on the public body's meeting agenda must provide a copy of the information for inclusion in the public record. Make pending minutes available to the public within 30 days. Within 3 business days after approving written minutes of an open meeting, make approved minutes and any public materials available at the Utah Public Notice website, the entity's primary office, and the entity's website. Within 3 business days after holding an open meeting, make an audio recording of the open meeting available to the public for listening.
Okay, that's the whole of it. Happy to take any questions from the board.
You did a great job, Nicole.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sounds like there aren't any questions.
Very good. Thank
So,
you.
You bet. Let's go on to the next item, which is item 6, and Jason's going to provide a financial update. Utopia. Jason?
Thanks, Alex. I have the financial update through October 31st, 2025 shown here for Utopia. Most of what I'm going to be focusing on is the projected versus budget here in the last 2 columns. To get these projected numbers, all I do is see what's happened the first 4 months of the year and project out as if the same numbers are going to happen the rest of the year. Not necessarily always true for some things. For example, for our income that we have coming in, we have growth that's going to happen between October 31st and June 30th to get to the end of the year. I haven't projected any of that growth in here, but looking at where we are on our revenue numbers, I'm still projecting we're going to be over revenue even without any growth. So Utopia revenue right now is looking very, very good. And that's primarily probably due to our partnership with Bountiful and some of the customers they have going on there. But our partnerships right now with Bountiful and Yellowstone Fiber are bringing on a lot of customers, and that revenue does come to Utopia. And if we go down to the expenses, we have some expenses that are running pretty low for payroll, marketing, and other. Some of that can be a little seasonal, so we'll look at it. But we do have a couple lines I did want to talk about that look like they're running high. The first one's the professional services line. If we look at the professional services line, we're projecting to be about 300,000 higher than budget. About 240,000 of this is due to our relationship with our payment processor, Express Bill Pay. They've upped their fees significantly over the last 8 or 9 months with multiple fee increases. I believe some of the cities that also use them, I've been told that they have the same increases, and I plan on calling the finance directors to make sure that they're seeing the same thing, but that's what I'm seeing there. The additional above 240,000 I have projected there, it's mainly due to pass-through costs that we sometimes help buy equipment for our partners like Bountiful or Yellowstone Fiber and Idaho Falls. And we pass that through on this line, and it usually ends up coming through the miscellaneous operating revenue, so that will be offset. Network operating expenses, if you look, we're projecting to be 1.3 million high on these. I have just taken what's happened to date and taken that pro rata through the year. I think that this number's a bit high, and I'll explain why as I go through the 3 items. The first one's maintenance. And when I looked at maintenance and why maintenance is higher than usual, we're just seeing a lot more charges, individual small charges for breaks and things like that in the system. And that probably has to do with the construction environment in Utah and all the construction we're seeing, and frankly, the size of our network increasing for those two things. I'm projecting that to be about 500,000 higher than budgeted. I will say, I think that number's high because I think that our maintenance expenses should slow down in the winter is what we're hoping. We usually do see some sort of slowdown in the winter for some of this. But as of right now, our maintenance expenses have been higher than we budgeted. The second thing we're seeing is an increase in relocate cost. And a lot of these are mostly government required by either UDOT is the main one that we see, but we also do see some cities sometimes when they move power underground in an area, sometimes we're required to move our infrastructure underground also on poles. We have seen a couple of very big expenses related to some individual projects in the fall of this year. We're hoping that's one time, and hopefully I've projected that it's going to be 400,000 high at the end of the year. We're hoping that it won't actually be 400,000 high for that. The third expense that we've seen come in over budget for the year is we've had some HVAC charges we've had some breakdowns in our HVAC systems. And we are projecting that's going to be a couple 100,000 high for the year too. Hopefully most of the expenses are behind us and this slows down. I mean, most of the expenses we do see for HVAC a lot of times are in the summer and the hotter months. And so hopefully I'm hoping that slows down, but I haven't projected it in these numbers yet to slow down. So we're keeping an eye on all these expenses.
And just for clarification, that's out at our hut facilities, not like our building HVAC. It's the, we've these cabinets and huts, throughout the cities all over the place. So we have a lot of air conditioning units out there.
Yeah. And those costs were higher than we projected and than we've seen in the past in the first few months of the year. So
sorry if you said this, I missed it, but if those costs are higher, is that like they were all put in a certain time and there's a certain amount of failures that are occurring within the amount of years, or is there something unique, that caused those HVAC failures? Or is it just higher expenses than maintaining HVAC units and it's the same amount of failures of those units?
I think we had more failures than we normally have. And I don't know exactly why. And
they're age related. Some of the huts have been pretty old, and the replacement of the air conditioners.
Yeah, but some of them last forever. Not really, but yeah, I think they're just hitting a little quicker and harder this year than we normally have seen.
Well,
they're aging.
One other thing is that we've had growth in some of these locations, requiring upgrades as well to the HVAC systems.
That's true.
Thank you.
any other questions so far?
So, Jason, you're still projecting net operating revenue at the end of the fiscal year to be in a positive position?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and frankly, we need to, that's for operating. We do have capital items we need to pay for too, but we're monitoring very closely the cash flow and making sure we have enough to pay everything we're budgeted to pay for. Okay.
Jason, this is Efo.
Yeah.
Just a couple of, just want to go back to one express bill pay, increasing their fees that high. I mean, typically there's an agreement. I mean, we have express bill pay as well, and they're able to just raise their fees without any discussion, or maybe I'm missing something here, but that's pretty significant. $300,000 just because they've raised their fees. I mean, we ought to really press them on that. But what's any more background to that, or how they're able to just do that mid-year?
Contractually, they've done it over 3 times, And Ifo, maybe I'll call in your finance director over there and I can talk through with Jim and see what he's seeing over there.
Yeah,
But what I've told is they are increasing their fees system wide, and I do need to get with all the other finance directors and talk about it. But we have seen 3 rate increases come through, and contractually, I know they were allowed in our contract.
so currently we're seeing that uptick because of the latest contract with them.
Yes, because of some rate increases they say they passed through, and I'll look into why, and I'll send you a response on that and let you know exactly what I find. But I did
Okay.
talk to them and have a discussion specifically to discuss their rate increases before this meeting. And
Okay.
yeah.
One other thing to note on the express bill pay, we are increasing customers aggressively. So I don't know if that's going to be a difference between how cities, I don't know if cities grow that fast. I don't know.
Yeah, it's true, but we had projected growth. Aaron, this is rate increases. That is why we're missing budget.
Yeah, that's good to know, Jason. Yeah, that'd be. I'm sure Jim would be happy to talk to you about what's going on with us.
Okay, I will contact him within the next month, and I'll run by him and see what he's seen and see if he's seen similar. Because I have been meaning to call the finance directors and talk to other people that use the same service and see if they're seeing anything similar.
Appreciate it. And then the other is the relocation expense. So that's similar to what's required of, say, Rocky Mountain Power when the city needs to do some work and they require them to move on their dime, unless it's for a private developer. That a similar
Yes, I think
setup.
it's, and I will let Aaron or Roger answer if I'm incorrect, but I believe it's the exact same thing. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, it can be roads, it can be other utilities. There's a lot, anything that's in conflict with our lines where we have to move it. And some of the UDOT stuff we get reimbursed for, but some we don't, and most of the other stuff we don't. So it does, just having as much fiber out there in the streets or along the streets and right of ways, just it causes us to have to relocate it enough that it's a pretty big budget item.
And it's not only that, but there was one very large relocation expense for one project that came through in these months. It was it was at least $200,000 when you took everything into account. So that alone makes up a big portion of our overage. And I projected it forward at the same pace. Hopefully that doesn't happen again.
Okay. I just remember with Rocky Mountain Power, anytime that happens, they're always battling us. And I don't want to leave any battle off, walk away from any battle, trying to prove that's something they should do. I think we should battle as much as we can, if just like they do. But if that's just an estimate, we'll just take it one issue at a time.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. No, I appreciate the questions. Any other questions on the operations? If not, I did want to go down and look at some of the capital items that we're looking at here. Specifically, the ones I want to bring up is Bountiful Construction Management Services revenues versus the Bountiful project expenses we're seeing. The mainline build's all done over there with the exception of some HOAs that wouldn't let us go in, that may let us go in the future. But we are still doing connections. And we do charge them per connection. We still have a few $1 million that are going, I think it was like $7 or $9 million total in connections that they'll be paying us over the next few years. I did go through, and we haven't met with UTOPIA since the end of the year. So I did want to bring up, I've been monitoring very closely the construction project in Bountiful and how we're doing from a cash flow perspective. And at year end, we were cash flow positive on the entire project. I showed it by over $500,000, which I thought was very good. And now we're starting to see the monthly revenues come in for the project. So I think that's good news.
Yeah, it'll be okay.
Moving on.
Hey, question, Jason, I have, if you could go back to that slide.
Yeah.
So, So it looks like again, in this case, you're projecting that the capital costs will exceed any revenue that we bring in for capital items at the end of the year. Is that correct? Am I reading that correctly?
Yes.
So, so where does that money come from? Do we have a fund balance, or does it just go against net operating revenue if we make a profit there? I'm just kind of curious where any overage would come from.
Any overage, hold on, let me look at this really close on the spreadsheet. Okay. If you look at the budget and how it's shown here, you'll see that the budgeted column is right here. And we have budgeted operating net revenues of 1.886 million and capital of negative 1.886. So it balances in the end. So any negative that you see from capital would be made up from operations.
So does Utopia maintain a fund balance? So at the end of the fiscal year, if you have more revenue than you have expenses, does that go into a fund balance, and do you track that from year to year? Do we have any, I guess, financial policies that say we want to maintain, like we do, like in a city general fund, right? We're required to maintain a balance between 5% and 35% or something like that. But
Yeah.
I'm just kind of curious what Utopia's typically does to handle overages and or underages at the end of the year.
Yeah. Traditionally, from a budget perspective, okay, for fund balance doesn't follow cash necessarily. It's a lot of accruals and other things can affect it that are non-cash. We are required, there is state guidance about having a positive fund balance. And if you do not have a positive fund balance, you have to budget the next year to have an reduction of fund balance deficit. So if you look right here, you have to budget for it to go down by at least 5%. That's what you show on this line right here, this $2.4 million. That's just a sum of everything that happens in and out of the city. And we do budget for that, but we have a negative fund balance at Utopia, and it is a large negative fund balance. The reason we have a large negative fund balance is because when the cities right now are making a payment for the bond payments, the revenue shortfall, we have to make the bond payments. And we are not showing at Utopia, we're not showing that payment coming from the cities as revenue. We are showing it as a liability that we need to pay back to the city someday. That entire payment amount that we show as a negative, which is in the hundreds of millions of dollars right now, ends up being negative fund balance. So we do not have a positive fund balance, but we do budget every year for the fund balance to go up, according to state law, and that's what we have to do. The reason is we want to show the flexibility to repay the cities for all the money they paid us over the years when the original bonds are paid off and there are funds available. Does that make sense, Doug?
Yeah, I think I understand. So I don't know how many years it would take to repay the cities, but that is still the goal of Utopia, right? Is that all of the bonding that the cities did back 15 years ago or 20 years ago. I can't remember when we did that, but that will all, in theory, be paid back to the cities.
Yes, it will be repaid plus interest. That's causing a negative fund balance, us recording that as a liability to repay. If we were to record it as revenue, we would be much, much closer to a positive fund balance.
Thank you.
Yeah. Last thing I have here are the financial charts. Here's our total revenue through October. Bottom blue line's Utopia, red line's UIA, the green line's the two. If you look since year end of June 30th through October 31st, we're up in monthly revenue by about $225,000 per month. That's very good growth we've had through the first 4 months of this year.
Well, and
Second
just to make a point, the Utopia chart would look really good if it weren't for the UIA line being so strong. So Utopia, it's not issuing new debts and that isn't building new projects, but it is getting new revenues from the partnerships like Idaho Falls, Bountiful Fiber, Yellowstone Fiber. Those are Utopia revenues and have been a source for us to be able to grow those revenues at Utopia. Because there was a concern that Utopia might just churn off customers and fall into a negative situation. But those opportunities have actually helped Utopia independently become better from a revenue perspective. And that growth is pretty good. Again, it just if it were its own chart that getting up to 100 million or to $1 million in monthly revenue would be a pretty good growth. It doesn't look, you can't really see that trend as well on this chart. So I want to bring attention to it.
I will also bring up some of the revenue. Well, this is just customer revenue coming in from third-party customers. There is a payment that goes from UIA to Utopia that's really large, shown on our financials. I don't show that on this chart because it would be double counting the revenue. I'm just showing total customer revenue for the two organizations. I know this is Utopia, but the UIA bonds are something we do track very closely. This first chart, the first line, the top blue line shows total revenue at UIA per month. That's monthly revenue. The bottom chart shows every time we do a bond issuance, how much our monthly bond payments increase. You'll notice our revenue is increasing quickly, and we did have a new bond issued in October of 2025. That's this new dot right here. So we've had an increase in monthly bond payment that will be needed, but we're very quickly, because we're not doing new city projects and we're doing a lot of curb to home connections, we're seeing the gap between the amount needed to pay bond payments and the amount that we're making. And that's used to cover all the expenses and the increased payments we're making back to the cities at the end of the year in Utopia. That's primarily generated from what we're seeing here. That's all I had. Are there any additional questions?
Was the new bond payment, was that for a specific entity?
That's for UIA. That was just for us to do basically growth, connections, curb to home. We do have money coming from UIA profits going into growth but this is on top of it. We're trying to capture all the growth we can right now because frankly, the returns are very good when you're doing the connections in the already existing network. And that's what we're spending this money on.
It's not for any specific city, if that's the question, because some of these are like a specific city with a backstop from that city. This latest one, UIA, was just for paying for those incremental installations, new developments, to do trench, open trench into those, or just keeping up with the growth that's happening in the cities and the additional customers coming in onto the system.
Thanks.
So the pace is definitely slowed, but could pick up immediately with any additional city partnership. But in the last little while, all we've had is just the UIA growth.
Are there any cities that you're currently working with out there that might come in the future?
I would just say that there's several that are in discussions with us. Things go well and then they stop, and then sometimes they don't go well and then they pick up again. Things don't really happen during election season, so those conversations will pick up probably in February. That's kind of when new city councils and mayors kind of get going with their new projects. So yeah, we are working on additional partnerships. When we get to my agenda item, I'll talk a little more about some of that's going on.
That's all I had.
Okay, thank you, Jason. Sounds like there's no additional questions. We'll move on to the report from Roger regarding the network and provide an update there. Roger?
So first, I just want to bring attention to the reporting that we have in here of subscriber growth across our system. This counts everything. So it's Utopia customers, it's UIA customers, and it's customers in the partnerships like Yellowstone Fiber, also known as Bozeman, Idaho Falls. Bountiful is structured in that way as well, where they bonded for their own project. It wasn't a UIA or Utopia bond. So those revenues come into Utopia. So when we're not issuing the debt and owning those, that's become a Utopia uh, revenue opportunity without any debt or risk. We're just providing services into those. Uh, on that point of like, are there new ones coming online? And they could fall into either bucket. You know, there's potentials that could be UIA partnership, and there's potentials that could be to become Utopia partnerships. One that we've talked about before and had kind of an operating agreement with, but was more just kind of consulting and trying to get them to the finish line, has been this group out of California of 40 counties. They've been trying to find project areas that would work and get money lined up for those, and they've actually had a lot of success recently. So they have $180 million or so of grant money that was approved a while back, but it required matching funds, and that was kind of a holdup for a while. But they did get bonds in place for that. As they got the issue is out there in the orders. They're expecting to close on that in December 15th for about $100 million of bonds. So it'll be about a $280 million ish first phase project over there. Again, that's their money and their project and their ownership of that. But we, similar to Idaho Falls and Bozeman, we have an opportunity there to be providing kind of a project consulting role for them as it's designed and built out and engineered. And then as it's built and completed, then it transitions into an operating role where we could provide customer service, network engineering, sales roles, things like that. But it's pretty much just the roles that we provide from our staffing here in Utah versus the boots on the ground roles. Those roles are contracted out and kind of on their side of responsibility, although we provide support in different ways there. So seeing that project actually getting to the point of funding is actually very excited. I say it's a $280 million project, but it's in rural areas, so it won't connect as many homes as you might expect from that size of a project. But we do get a percentage of that in the consulting piece, and we also get a revenue share ongoing as the customers come on. So that we expect to be a pretty decent revenue source for Utopia. And being just a first phase, we're hoping, that they're hoping to layer on many additional phases. It could eventually become bigger than Utopia from a build and construction or in a subscriber perspective. And we would applaud them and encourage that, because if we are providing roles and getting revenue from those subscribers, that could be a really good way for us to both grow our revenues, keep our costs down, and accelerate the payment of our own bonds. And when those bonds are done, repay the cities back. If you remember, we're about 15 years out on the end of our Utopia bonds. Is that right, Jason? And so these agreements extend past that, but it's short-term benefit because we decrease the amount the cities may be paying if we're able to offset some of that. And then when those bonds are paid off, we're in a better position to pay the cities back what's been paid in the past. So, we've kind of said our goal is to build out the cities, and we did that. We've expanded with additional city partnerships, which created a more ability for us to pay more of the bond payments each year, and that's gone up. But we're hoping that we're able to accelerate that and continue that with growth from these new city partnerships. So that's we're excited for that. but then also in conversations, to Doug's point, what other cities are out there. I don't want to talk, that California one is pretty set in stone. We know the scope of those projects. The one that most of you probably haven't heard of, most of these communities out there, but Mammoth Lakes is one of them. The town of Mammoth Lakes is pretty famous just because it's a skiing destination, but that's one of them. But there's project areas north of Sacramento, down in the south of the state. So they're kind of spread around a little bit. But we also have these opportunities in Utah. There's still some cities, we've covered a lot in between us and Google and a few others. A lot of cities in Utah have fiber now, but there's still a good number that don't. So I don't like to name them. I'd maybe take that offline, because those are kind of business development things, and these are public meetings where our competitors may want to go and interfere with some of those that outreach and those discussions. But we are in that mode of having those conversations, and things kind of get going in the fall, March timeframe with new councils and mayors. So at that point, we may have some things developing legs for additional city partnerships. Anyways, just a few points on our subscriber report here. We don't have the completion of any cities. A lot of times we have continuous construction in several cities. We only have construction going on in Bozeman, which is a partner project. But we're still maintaining very strong subscriber growth. That's been partly because of increased marketing. We've done more door-to-door type campaigning. But it's still a good indicator that the service is good. We're not losing customers. We've been getting increased competition from Lumen, also known as Quantum Fiber, which is being bought by AT&T. But yet we're still weathering that new competitive option in a lot of our cities, and so you don't really see it happening. We've seen small times where, like Brigham City, for example, got overbuilt, and we saw their take rate dip a little bit. So we went, if you look at this, we're 44% down to 43. That's actually a very small decrease as a result of someone coming in and overbuilding us with another option and coming in with competitive offerings. The actual line for Brigham City, if you were to look, go down to the city specifics, we provide those. You can see where we kind of took a hit, but they're actually coming back. And so we're in a growth mode. The take rate kind of has stayed pretty flat, even though we're adding customers in the tail end of this, but that's because they have new parcels being developed, so that we're playing with multiple things here. We have a denominator, which is the number of potential customers that grows, but also the actual number of customers growing. But we watch those pretty carefully, and that's one where we got, it came quick, and the promotional rates came in and it marketed pretty heavily. And to have that be the impact to where, we get that hit and then we're back growing again and getting customers back, I think we weathered that very, very well. Again, we're not going to be too casual about it. We watch this closely and want to make sure that we're always being the very best option for our citizens and our businesses and our cities. But those are things that can affect us out there. So actually, we're pretty happy with how things are going in this and other areas where we've seen that type of competition. But we have this detail out there for every city. You can see your data. We try to be very transparent with our subscriber numbers. And you'll see some of these be in the last year where they would have, what would be normal curve and then suddenly accelerate. So this example here in Clearfield is an example of where there was a campaign there with the door-to-door marketing, and that worked very well to give us a nice little bump. And we've done those in several cities. We had Orem, Murray, a few others with the door-to-door campaigns. Here's the Murray bump, you can see. But you're welcome to dig into those for the detail of how we're doing in each city. Some of the charts didn't extend to this last month, so I apologize for that. We had some formulas expire, but the total numbers are good. We were excited to exceed 80,000 subscribers, just as a milestone that doesn't really mean anything, but it's exciting sometimes when the number rolls over to a big round number. But it's nice to see those types of increases. But yeah, we're excited. I think 2025 is one of the best years we've ever had, generally from revenue growth, subscriber growth, weathering competitive pressures and things like that. It's been great. We're looking forward to a good 2026. That's all I've got for
Thank,
my items.
thank you, Roger. Do we, just a quick question, do we still continue to see good growth in the opportunities provided through schools and some of the state organizations?
Yes, we do. So they do an annual RFP, and that goes over the holidays. So I don't know why they do that to us. Maybe so they can take the time off while everyone else is frantically working on the bids. But yeah, they do have an RFP out that we put a proposal into. We've done really well with them. We continue to add customers. If you were to look at that report, you see, why do we have service in so many cities? And often those are because they're part of a school district, right? If we have a location or locations or relationship with a school district, they often have a lot of schools outside of our cities that they need connected. We bid on them. We don't have any commitment to do them. We do them that are good for us to do and pass on lots of them that don't make financial sense for us. But it has resulted in providing a lot of connections to schools. And the last that we talked to them, I believe we provided the largest circuit in the state, which is a 400 gigabit connection. And they were really excited to bring that up, but didn't want to. I think the understanding is they didn't want to offend their other partners. They like to play things very neutral, which makes sense. But we're pretty excited to be providing it used to be our biggest connection on the network to have 100 gig connections. So they and us were both excited to do a 400 gigabit connection for the University of Utah. And that's one of the biggest in the state. So we're excited to do that. Yes, schools are a big part. That's a long answer to your question. Yes, we've done a lot and continue to do more and more with the school systems across the state.
Good. Thank you, Roger. Are there any questions of Roger from the board? Okay. Well, thank you. That takes us to the end of the agenda. Are there any other items that maybe just for notice, if not for discussion, that any of the board members would like to raise?
Was Roger going to do a Christmas display with a Cybertruck for us since it's Christmas time?
It does have a little light show, but it does.
Oh.
It's fun. He got to see that down in
St. George.
The League of Cities and Towns meeting.
Oh. Well, good point, Mayor. Anything else? Well, if not, we will entertain a motion to adjourn. But before we do that, I just want to, again, Kim, welcome you. With Doug's retirement, welcome you onto the board and look forward to a great interaction with Murray City as we've had in the past. And Doug, again, just wish you all the best in your future endeavors, and again, appreciate what you've done for Utopia, UIA, and also for being one of the important cities in the state. So all the best to you.
Thanks, Alex, and everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you as well from me. I look forward to working with all of you and getting to know you.
Well, very good. And also want to express appreciation to the staff. Didn't recognize you at the beginning. I apologize. You're the secret of our success, I think, which is generally true in all the cities, is the staff, and we have good leadership with Roger, and obviously, but the staff really makes things happen day in and day out. So appreciate that, and appreciate all you do as board members as well. Again, in your own cities, and the municipal environment is really strong in the state. I believe, I'm biased obviously, but because of the good staff and good elected officials generally throughout the state. So to those of you that are elected, thank you for all that you do, and we know you. It's take a lot of arrows, and but try to do the right thing, and it makes a difference. So just wish the best to everybody and your families during the holiday season. Hope all is well for you. So, Jeff, did you have something?
No.
You're just
Sorry, I
saying
was just
goodbye,
waving.
so I'll quit talking?
Waving at somebody as they walk by.
Oh, okay, all right. Very good. Well, very good. I'll accept a motion to adjourn then.
So moved, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Mayor. A second?
Second.
We need one?
People.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Ifo. All in favor, say aye.
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 Very good. Again, happy holidays to each of you. Be safe and well.
Likewise.
Thank you.